Welcome back, Billiken fans. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. Before we get going, can't thank you enough for listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the bell icon down below to get notified every time we upload a video. It's season 4. And once again, the Midtown Madness Podcast is brought to you by Two Men in a Garden. We're not here to sell you any subscription service, any place to learn a new skill. We're not that serious. We're here for Two Men and a Garden salsa. It's local. It tastes amazing. They've got all the flavors to suit your individual salsa preferences. And now they're sponsoring Julia Martinez. That's right. The leader of one of the best fast breaks in all of women's college basketball is sponsored by the same place we are. Two Men and a Garden. You can pick up their many products at any local grocery store or online at twomeninthegarden.com, which, if you're particular about your salsa taste, just like I am, that's where you better go. Follow them on social media at Two Men Salsa. That's on Instagram and Twitter. Need a mixed bag this week. A lot of some really, really great stuff, and then some really not so great stuff. But first, I mean, we're going. I think do we kick it off with men's basketball? I mean, at this point, we're a SLU women's soccer podcast as much as we are a SLU men's basketball podcast.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we're going to cover it all. We're going to cover it all regardless. But Zach, I really don't mind. I think this week might be tougher than any other in terms of determining the order. Because as you said, it's been bittersweet for us.
I think we just kick it off with men's basketball. And there was an open practice and media availability on Sunday the 5th. We've got a couple of reports, and I want to say before we get into the media reports, I have a problem with, well, it's not a problem with Cusimano, but here's what I mean when I say everything that is good for Mizzou is bad for SLU. Anything that is good for Lindenwood is bad for SLU. Anything that is good for SIUE is bad for SLU. It does not matter because it is Sunday the 5th. There is a Billiken game in less than 24 hours. And Frank Cusimano is tweeting about a Mizzou football game that is not in 6 days. Like, that's not good. We need to do better. The Billikens need to do better.
So you see local and regional college sports is more of a zero-sum game than a rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just I can't mess with like Mizzou fans that are like, I'm glad you're on the Billiken bandwagon, but like, I'm not saying you can't be a fan of both. I'm saying like there's a priority here. And that's
right.
fine. Like again, if you don't want to be that serious, that's fine. But like, if you have to understand that anytime Mizzou wins, SLU loses.
Yeah, I guess it's an attention economy, right? And Frank seems to not quite be as much of a SLU fanboy as he used to be.
Yeah, it's weird, huh? Weird how that works.
It's cooled recently, and I don't know the whole story there. If it's more than just, I don't know, his thoughts on the state of the program or what. I really don't know. But today, from that open practice with media invite, so far we've really only heard from two guys, and that's Stu Durando. And help me with his last name, Zach. Is it Matthew Rocchio or Rocchio?
Rocchio.
Okay.
I think it's Rocchio.
I love him as a Twitter follow. I always read his tweets and everything, but I haven't heard it said. I don't think.
And I do think the Cusimano thing was weird because he really was like Travis Ford's biggest cheerleader when everyone was pissed, at the end of the season. And he kind of came out and said, look, like, maybe you should take all that, money, or maybe you should, I don't know, pay a bigger, what did he say? Oh, instead of the buyout money, put it into the NIL.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, again, I don't know what's going on there. Certainly, I think Mizzou football, basketball right now have captured a lot of the imagination of the local media.
sure.
And understandably, like they're gonna chase wherever the success is at the moment. And I think Mizzou's pretty good football season has college football is just a bigger sport, period. And then their success on the recruiting trail in men's basketball with under a new coach, there's just a lot of good vibes and momentum in that direction right now too. So I get that point, but it's certainly a little disconcerting when our season is, like you said, less than 24 hours away from starting, and there's just not much buzz at all. Like there's just not much coverage at all. And yeah, that's not a great feeling.
Pete, we mentioned Matt Rocchio. I've not. Correct us, Matt. He dropped a few tweets in a thread with his thoughts on media day, or not media day, but practice, open practice.
Yeah, on Sunday the 5th. Yeah. He said Hargrove seems pretty excited about the possibilities of playing the 5, saying it allows him to do more offensively and it makes him and Jimerson harder to guard, which I thought was interesting. He's been playing almost all 5 in practice, and he's reached out to Hassan French and even some other players who have played the position over the years. It's
Hassan said lift weights.
I'm sure he did. And then I don't know if that extends beyond the Ford era, but we saw on Twitter Conklin said that he didn't get a call.
Oh shit. Don't poke the bear.
Yeah, he'll get on a transcontinental flight right now. He said Sincere kept his answers short, but that his takeaway was that he's going to take a lot of threes. I think the words he used were green light special. Dude should wear sirens. So I don't know about you, Zach, but I'm ready to see that.
I give that line a 4.8. That's an okay line.
Travis Ford had quite a bit to say to him, though.
Yeah, let's hear about this. This is interesting.
So he said he's used more lineups in practice than ever before, and then a lot of players like Dalger and Hughes are playing 3 positions. He did seem confident though about like the unresolved NCAA waivers and clearances. So I guess that's good. I don't know if he's just projecting. I don't know.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit of hubris to me. I mean, I could see a world where Magassa, Bruce, well, I whatever Bruce is dealing with. Yeah, Magassa. I could see a world where Magassa is cleared on Monday morning.
Yeah, I think it feels like they're imminent, right? Like the way Stu worded that tweet on at the end of Friday when we found out that Stef was going to be eligible. He said it's the only one they heard about today. So it feels like they're ready to hear about these like any day now.
And I do like. I mean, there has been a noticeable absence of Janet Oberly in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, she's got to be.
I don't know what she's doing or where she is, but she's got to be working on this.
Right. Yeah, I think it's her priority number 1.
I mean, to show you how much of a priority it is, she missed the women's soccer Atlantic 10 championship. At least I didn't see her. Like that's her baby.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Good luck to her. Like I've said it before, the only saving grace to all this shit is that Janet Oberly is now on the case.
Yeah.
That woman can NCAA comply with the best of them.
She knows what she's doing. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, well, I mean, until then, he gave Hargrove a vote of confidence in playing the 5. He said it allows them to do more offensively, so he kind of reiterated what TJ had said previously. And then he said...
Or vice versa.
Right, that's true. Dalger at the 5 was more of a need-based thing, and he said they won't have to do it again. So Stef's cleared to play. They don't have a timetable on him being 100% ready physically. I don't know if that means that he was still kind of banged up, because I know he was dealing with injuries over the summer, or if they just mean adjusting to the speed, right? Like kind of getting up to the speed of the college game and everything. He loves the defense that they can create even without size. He said that Dalger and Thames will be out there a lot together to help compensate for that size deficiency. One of the things he said, they need to learn even more from every game after an unusual preseason. So I assume they're going to be spending a little more time in the film room, breaking down X's and O's than ever before. And then the last note from Matt here, he asked Ford who the backup 5 is, and Ford said, "We'll see," and then gave him what he described as the eyes emoji look. Like just kind of, I don't know if he glared at him or kind of just had his eyebrows all the way up and was like, "We'll see." So I don't know, TBD there, but thought it was interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Like any of it. Who's the backup 5? I don't know. We don't have one.
Right.
Like it is. I mean, I'm sure it's Hargrove, and then Dalger and Thames. Like that's what you're gonna do. It's when Hargrove comes out, Thames comes in, or
it's a rapidly evolving situation, right? Like when you're waiting to hear back, they could. He said we'll see. He could go back to his office and find out one of these guys is cleared. You know, like it's in
his inbox. He just hasn't seen it yet.
Hasn't checked his email.
That'd be great if there was like, if it turns out that they had gotten clearance all along and they just missed the email.
Right. Right.
It's just, it went to the spam folder.
Went to spam. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So Stu didn't have much to say. He just said that as of 10:30 a.m. on Sunday, SLU has not heard from the NCAA on Ezewiro or Magasa. Regarding Bruce's status for his knee, Ford said, "We'll see. He's still got a little work to do." He said Dalger has stopped working out at the 5, which we had heard already, and that Stef was cleared but may not be ready physically. So not a whole lot of new stuff there. But yeah, that's really all we heard, Zach, out of the local media on this one.
Yeah, I gotta say, I really don't like the fact that we're not excited. Like I'm very much gonna enjoy going to Chaffetz Arena on Monday. I'm very much gonna enjoy going to Chaffetz Arena on not Wednesday. I'm gonna enjoy Saturday against Illinois State. Like I'm gonna enjoy having Billiken basketball in my life, but like it sucks because you see every other Atlantic 10 program actually feel like they have some forward momentum with their program. I think most of them, maybe St. Joe's, but they have like a great recruiting class. They may have the worst coach in the A10, but they got a nice recruiting class. That's what they said about us back in 2016. They may not have a good coach, but they got a good recruiting class. So I don't know, man. What do you think?
No, you're right. It's tough. Like I think it's going to be a light crowd on Monday, and that's a shame. We've talked about it a lot. We talked about it in the Twitter think tank episodes a lot. It's just, there just isn't a whole lot of either buzz or positivity in the air around the program right now. And that's hard. I know what it's like to go through a really bad season. That was my senior year, and it's hard. And that was even a season where we thought we might be okay, you know, like we might see a postseason, and it just didn't work out like that. And it's hard to go into a season like that, though. Like I don't remember many other seasons where going into it was just dread. I think I would go to that second cruise season of, you know, not having Majerus's players anymore. Would be the last time I remember like this level of anxiety. Now, that said, I know there have been situations where we've had players suspended or expelled or facing situations like that. But it wasn't just like uncertainty, like complete uncertainty, you know, like knowing who was actually going to be on the roster kind of thing. Maybe I'm not articulating that point well, but it seems like there's always something, right, like going on with this program. And I don't know, like right now, it just more than ever, I just feel like people have just kind of I don't like they're losing faith a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's odd because I mean, you look on the surface again, we can rehash Travis Ford all day and night, and I'm not interested in doing that, but like it's so crazy that it's almost like Cruz the last 2 years of Cruz really just scarred everybody where it's like never again. So like the first sign of this program stagnating or even declining, people like no, we're not
Right.
doing this again.
Right.
And you know, it's because it's funny because we actually have a lot of quite a few knowns on this roster. We just you know, Jimerson's we know what we got. Sincere, we kind of know what he can do. You know, we just have to see him actually do it. TJ, I mean, we kind of know. But at the same time, it does really feel like we have no idea.
And even if we don't know necessarily what everybody's going to bring or how productive they'll be this season, they seem like an easy group of guys to root for. One of the things Ford has stressed is how competitive they are. Sion said this on the little social media piece they did on him over the weekend, but just that this is a gritty team who likes to grind, who plays hard, and they seem like a likable bunch, right? Like I think these guys will be easy to root for. It's just like I said in the last episode, it's just like I'm just frustrated. Like I just want whatever the backcourt or the front court situation is to be resolved. I want to know who I'm going to be watching. I want these players deserve clarity from the NCAA. It's so frustrating.
This team better grind more than a Sigma Chi on a 80 pi at Lacledes. Seriously, this team is going to have to really grind because
that's right.
I don't know, man. Let's talk about what the Billikens will be facing this week. They start with Southern Indiana on Monday the 6th. We're really getting out of hand with the directional schools that get into the Division One.
Well, Southern Indiana, and this came up on the second SLU Twitter think tank episode. It's their second year at the D1 level. They've got a really nice arena and facilities. They're in
It's
Evansville.
Indiana. Go figure.
Yeah, they take basketball seriously, even those people in Evansville. In the words of the late Bob Knight. So they are just a few miles away from the University of Evansville. But it's their second year at the D1 level, and those schools, like I was saying, like tend to kind of have a little momentum, right? Because they're making that upward move. Last season, in their first ever D1 season, they finished 16-17 overall and 9-9 in the Ohio Valley. So they are worthy, you know, they are there. Now, they did lose a lot after last season. They happen to have a lot of upperclassmen. They had some transfers. They were picked to finish 9th of 11 in the Ohio Valley this season, just ahead of Lindenwood and just behind Western Illinois. So turnover is the reason for that, right? Like they lost their top 6 scorers from last season, which means the top returning scorer is Jeremiah Hernandez and his 4.9 points per game. He's going to start and play a bigger role. But frustratingly, Zach, they just haven't played a game yet, including no exhibition. So I'm kind of relying on other sources, newspaper articles, and others who have done previews on them for a predicted starting lineup. It looks like along with Hernandez, you're going to see 6'8" Nolan Coswell, who's a Tennessee Tech transfer, second-year USI player Kyron Powell, who SLU recruited actually back in the day. He's a Houston transfer. And then guards Johnny Samani, I'm going to call him just because I like the sound of that.
Awesome.
From Lawrence University, and Jack Campion, who averaged 12.5 minutes last season for the Screaming Eagles as they go by. But I don't know exactly that's their lineup. The reason for concern is that they do have some size, not just in that lineup, but on the bench, they've got a 6'10 UConn transfer, Yareen Hassan, who played 11 total minutes last season. Again, didn't play much, but like they were the national champs, right? So like he's going to get a bigger opportunity. 6'10 Nick Hiddle, he averaged 5 minutes a game at Indiana State. I don't think he's a huge threat, but still, like, throw him in against our lineup and who knows. And then 6'7", 220-pound forward Jack Mielke, or Mielke, I don't know how to say his last name, played 9 minutes a game last season. And then they kind of round out their rotation with some JUCO guards. Like SLU, ton of unknowns on the team. There are a lot of guys who are going to get a bigger chance at Southern Indiana, and a few of them are really going to have to step up. So when you look at their roster and like what they did last season, it's not much, right? There's a lot of small numbers at a lot of other schools, but the difference from SLU is they've got some real size, and none of these bigs would worry me at all if we had a fully available front court. If you run any of those two guys at the same time, it could be a problem, Zach. So that's where I think this game is going to be interesting. I could see both teams having to get really creative here.
Yeah, I'm anxious. It's I have no idea what's about to happen. I don't know if I'm gonna walk out of there and want to never walk back in. I have no idea. Like, not a clue.
Yeah, this is really going to be, for me, it's maybe the most revealing season about Travis Ford, right? Like what
I
do you
think
come up
so.
with? What do you come up with to compete at this level when you just really don't have bigs? For, or at least for as long as that situation lasts, like let's see what they do, because they've got 3 games this week.
Let's quickly just run through Lincoln.
Yeah, we'll do Lincoln quickly. Lincoln's a D2 school. It's an HBCU in Jeff City. It's got about 1,800 students, so it's a small school. And they play in the MIAA, which is the Mid-America Intercollegiate Athletics Association. So they've got schools like Emporia State, Northwest Missouri, Fort Hays State. If you remember, they upset K-State back in 2020. And then you've got like Central Missouri, Central Oklahoma, where Dennis Rodman went, I think. So other schools like that. Lincoln was picked to finish 12th of 14 teams in the conference this year. Last year they finished 5th. They beat UMKC actually in a season opening exhibition. And then Lincoln actually calls the SLU game an exhibition on their schedule. So it will be the first game of the season for them, which I thought was interesting. It's not an exhibition for us, but it is for them. I don't know if that's like a lower division thing or not. I never ever really looked at it from the other angle. So they lost their top 3 scorers, which is why they're not being picked to finish 5th again. They returned 4 through 6, all 3 of whom are seniors. 6'1" guard DJ Richardson, 6'4" guard Jamar Madge, and then 6'3" guard Sam Routens. The top 3 scorers who graduated were also the top 3 rebounders. So they kind of have a different look to the front court this year, and it has a lot of transfers. 6'8" transfer from Western Illinois named Elijah Farr. 6'9" transfer from Florida A&M, Peyton Williams, and then they've got a 6'10" freshman from Spain. They've also got some 6'6", 6'7" combo forwards who are a little bit deeper in the rotation. And their other D1 transfer is a guy named Trey Boston from Louisiana Monroe. So the bottom line, Zach, they're going to be better than Berea, but I don't think they're as good as Kentucky Wesleyan.
Great. They got a 6'10" freshman from Spain. They found Bo frickin' Cruz. Sam Routens just sounds like a guy who's gonna bomb 10 threes on us.
Somebody will. I mean,
Yeah.
even Berea, who we beat, had a guy who scored 27. So there's always going to be that dude somewhere.
Sam Routens just sounds like a Missouri Valley Conference guy. Like I love that name. I don't know. Illinois State on Saturday the 11th.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Maybe the most interesting of the bunch to me. They finished 11-21 last season. They went 6-14 in the Valley and finished 9th. Not a good scoring team last season. They averaged 66.5 points a game, which was 313th in the country. And then they were in the bottom 10% in the country in field goal attempts and assists. They turned it over 14.6 times a game. They didn't rebound well, but they're picked to finish 8th of 12 teams in the Valley this season and defeated Illinois Wesleyan in an exhibition game. They'll host NAIA Lourdes University tonight as we release this, which is Monday night. So we'll be, I don't think that'll be a super revealing one. They started Malachi Poindexter, Dalton Banks, Brandon Lieb, Kendall Lewis, and Luke Kasubke against Illinois Wesleyan. If you recognize the last name, SLU was one of the finalists for Kasubke coming out of high school at Chaminade, Zach, but he went to K-State and didn't play there all that much before transferring to Illinois State. He'll definitely have something to prove in front of friends and family, though. Poindexter might be the big name on this team. He had 17 points in the exhibition. He was hot from three. He's a 6'2" guard who averaged over 9 points a game as a junior and is taking on a bigger role this season. He started his career at Virginia. Lewis, the 6'8" forward, was their third leading scorer and top rebounder last season. He averaged 10.9 and 7.3 rebounds per game. They also return a 6-foot guard named Darius Burford. He was their top scorer last year, just under 13 points a game. But he came off the bench in this exhibition and wound up with 19. Lieb is the guy from Illinois. He's a transfer. He's a bit of a stiff offensively. He's 7'1", though, and that's kind of an issue. So he can rebound. He's a good passer for a big, too. So who knows what he's going to look like.
Bruce, get your knee figured out.
Yeah, figure it out
or
quickly.
whatever.
Yeah, we've got 5 days. Let's go. And then they've got a freshman I really like, a 6'6" guard named Ty Pence. He's out of the suburbs of Chicago. He had 13 off the bench in that exhibition. SLU recruited him, and he's a player I kind of hoping we'd land. There's another freshman who could be an issue. He's a 6'9" forward named Chase Walker. Didn't score much, but he had 6 rebounds in the exhibition game. I don't really know what to make of the lineup in the exhibition, given that 11 guys played between 12 and 24 minutes. Only 2 of them played over 20 minutes. Overall, they returned most of their key players from last season. They added a couple really strong freshmen, a few intriguing transfers. It's probably not enough to win the Valley, but they could be a top half team if those new pieces kind of fit. They've just got a lot of depth, is what it looks like to me. And I think they'll have the ability to throw a lot of different looks at SLU. So this could be an interesting test early in the season, especially if we don't have all those bigs.
Look, I really don't know what to expect from the Billikens this year. But since they all obviously listen to this show, I figured I'd impart some wisdom on them. And no, look, I really think that we're going to judge this season and the Travis Ford tenure at SLU based on this season. It's just how things work. But like, I think the way this team played in the exhibitions, if they play that way, they play hard, they grind it out on defense, they play together and really don't give up on each other in the team. I think it'll be something that we can at least be proud of the guys on the court.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we're both kind of on the same page with that too, Zach. I like reading social media, reading various places where SLU fans congregate online. There's a lot of negativity, but I'm willing to I just want to give them a chance. Like, yeah. I'm excited for basketball again. I've always loved this program, and I'm gonna root for them no matter what. I just
by the way, when did you get a new microphone?
You're just noticing that right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's been all episode, almost
Is that just
an hour now.
Oh, okay.
No,
he's got the Rogan microphone now.
Is that what that's? It's the brand. My brother-in-law told me to get this one, the Shure.
Yeah, that's
he's got like a little. Yeah, he's got a media production company, and he saw my setup, and he was like, "You need a new mic." So he insisted that I get this one. He didn't buy it for me.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
Yeah, come
insisted that you get the Shure microphone, and then doesn't.
Yeah, right. He just told me what to buy. I was like, all right, I'll do it. I'll do it, Jason, and we'll see what kind of feedback we get from it.
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. What I do know is that nothing about Two Men in a Garden is unknown.
They're old reliable, Zach.
They are.
And we've said this twice in the show already. We've talked about this, but they do have a new spokesperson in Julia Martinez. She just posted a few hours ago as we pod and said to try her favorite spicy dill pickles and then the hot mango salsa. They won't disappoint. Both spicy. I thought that was interesting on both the pickle and salsa side. She said to look for them at all St. Louis grocery stores as well as Whole Foods in the Chicago area, which I did not know. And this we're gonna use her code here, Julia, for free shipping on orders over $25, which I will be doing sometime in the next probably in the next week or so, based on my own supply. So I always talk about their $9.99 shipping being a great deal, but use Julia as the code and get free shipping. That's an even better deal. And you can do that at twomeningarden.com.
Yeah, we still haven't gotten our code. What the hell?
We need we
We
need
need
a
a
code.
code. Because I do. Who did I this is a guy I talked to at the game today. Mentioned that he bought 2 Men in a Garden for the first time because we won't shut up about it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've heard a surprising amount of people say that they've tried it out based on hearing it from our show.
it's weird. It's
Maybe
weird.
that's why they don't want to do a code for us, Zach. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
wind up
too much
losing
money.
money.
Yeah, they can't. Uh,
So yeah, let us do our own flavor instead.
yes, dude, I'm dead serious. Like I'm not kidding when I say that I would like my own. If I have my own flavor of salsa, I can just go ahead and call it a career. I'll just retire. Like I've said, my goal was to make it in the Billiken Hall of Fame. Uh, I just want my own type of
Yeah,
salsa.
I mean
Yeah,
that's what more that's self-actualization right there.
that's
What more? That's the
unbelievable.
very
That would be
top of the pyramid.
unbelievable. Oh man, I love it. Um, Billiken fans, we are now going to welcome on a friend of the show, voice of your St. Louis University women's basketball team, and all around just fantastic broadcaster, Colin Suhre. Colin, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, I'm excited to be here. Excited to see all of you Billikens fans and excited to talk some hoops. I mean, goodness, the way it felt so long coming off of that championship season, and finally they're back on the hardwood.
Yeah, sometimes it's kind of what you talk about, like ice hockey, where the team that goes to the Stanley Cup Finals got to turn around and play right away. But this one really did feel like an extended off season.
It did, and in so much excitement over the course of the offseason as well. Of course, you graduate one of the greatest players in program history in Brooke Flowers, but she remains with the team. She's on the coaching staff as a graduate assistant still, so still going to be able to pull from her wisdom and a trio of really talented plug and play type transfers that are going to come right into this rotation and make an impact right away. And I think replacing Brooke Flowers, I shouldn't say replacing, but starting in her spot in the five is one of those transfers in Nook Shavers. So we'll get an early look at what they have to offer, and I think it's going to be quite a bit.
So with Shavers, you called her a nickname. It sounds like she doesn't go
Yes,
by
yes. So
Marcavia.
Marcavia goes by Nook.
Okay, all right, I'll get used to that. I hadn't heard
Yeah.
that one yet.
Yeah,
Marcavia Shavers, that name is just not like, I don't know. It just doesn't scream women's basketball. I don't, or like athlete. I don't know. It sounds like a teacher to
she
me.
is
Like,
one heck of an athlete. She'll teach you how to get on the glass. She'll teach you that for sure.
So how is she different than Flowers? I know you can't just find another Flowers out there in the transfer portal or the high school ranks or whatever. She's really our only starter, right? Who's going to be different than last season. How does that change the dynamic of this lineup?
Well, it opens up some opportunities, but of course, I think what you saw with this team last year, so much pressure on the perimeter, they were able to turn opponents over doing that and did a great job of that in their exhibition game against Missouri S&T as well. But you did see missing that paint presence. When you run opponents off of that 3-point line and you're really aggressive on the perimeter, there's going to be some driving lanes, and Brooke Flowers could erase so many of those opportunities. And Shavers isn't quite the shot blocker that, of course, not many are the shot blocker that Brooke Flowers was, but she brings a great physicality in the paint. Players that are maybe trying to move you out of space and create position down low, it's going to be much more difficult to do that against Nook Shavers. And she's a really good athlete as well. She moves around really well and does a great job at creating room for the offense to operate. And they were operating at a high level in that exhibition game, and I think they will throughout the regular season as well.
Brooklyn Gray, another newcomer, put in 12 points in just 17 minutes off the bench. What does she bring to this squad as a newcomer?
She's an offensive spark plug, and she is a player that can get her own basket. So kind of similar to Kyla McMakin, shot clock running down, a player that can create her own shot. And I think something that fans can be really excited about all of these transfers. So Shavers, as well as the other transfer, Tierra Simon, that we haven't mentioned yet, both played at Pearl River Community College down in Mississippi, an incredibly successful program. They went 24-3, I think it was, last year on a deep run in the national tournament. And then Brooklyn Gray comes from Wabash Valley, which fans from this area may be very familiar with because they have tremendous JUCO programs in a number of sports. And Brooklyn Gray, coming from the Rockford, Illinois area, same hometown as Peyton Kennedy on the team as well, really comes from that winning pedigree. So I think they're all players that understand what it takes to sacrifice and give up something to reach a greater goal. They're not players that I think maybe have an idea that, hey, I'm going to be a superstar player coming into this team. And that's something that I'm sure Rebecca Tillett had her eyes on right away. How are these players going to fit the culture? I think that was the greatest asset that this team really had comes the season's end last year.
I feel like we haven't, Pete, you correct me if I'm wrong, but first of all, I want to find out where this Mississippi connection comes in, but also we haven't had many community college or JUCO women's basketball players throughout the years, Pete. I can't think of one, to be honest with you.
There have been some. It's been a while. There were a few in my era, but now we're talking 20 years ago. So it's
God, I got to go back and look at that. That's so
I don't think we had a lot at all during the previous coach's tenure, which was a 10-year stretch. So yeah, I can't really think of any other recent ones.
And I think a big reason for that is just that the coaching staff kind of getting a late start last year affects that next recruiting cycle as well. So, maybe not the amount of time to get their roots fully planted in that St. Louis area where they primarily want to recruit from, and found an opportunity to really grab some great recruits that not only you can plug and play, but Brooklyn Gray comes to the Billikens as a true sophomore. And the other two are juniors still. So really, really great opportunity for players to come in and, not be expecting, hey, are they going to be in the rotation? Are they going to redshirt? They're players that you can count on right away. And I think that added depth is going to be a huge strength for this team throughout the season.
I was just going to ask about depth because it does seem like, and I know you can't take too much away from a lower division exhibition game, right? But it does seem like they do have more options on the bench than they did last season. And I'm wondering, how do you think that affects the style we see them running this season?
I think it's going to be maybe even more run and gun than what you saw last year. I think that was the style of play when this team was really playing well. They got up and down the floor. They created live ball turnovers. They crashed the offensive glass. They were really good in the run of play. And, with that added depth, I think somebody who you can really look to maybe take a bigger role this year, even coming off the bench, is a Camry Clegg. For as healthy as the team stayed last year, Camry was a little bit banged up from time to time, and I think we didn't get to fully see what she's truly capable of. I mean, this is a lights out type of shooter that, that was an area where this team struggled a little bit, especially in the early going last year. And I think her missing presence was a big part of that, and adding her back into the mix with a player that can shoot it like a Brooklyn Gray and so many others, I think is going to be a huge asset for this team. And, what was a deficiency for the team last year could very well be a strength. I mean, you bring back Kyla McMakin, we know what she can do from the outside. And Peyton Kennedy is one of the most efficient players in the Atlantic 10. And it looks like she's only gotten better. I mean, she looked outstanding again against lower competition in an exhibition game, but almost did not even miss a shot. I think she missed 3 total in the game and scored 27 points.
Right. And when you say efficiency, I'm thinking with McMakin, has that really been a conversation with regard to her in the offseason? Because as much as she can do and as much as she can get hot and change a game, make a big play, she isn't the most efficient scorer. So I wonder, what have the conversations there like between her and the coaches been like to capitalize on her strength and, maybe make her a little bit more efficient?
Well, I don't think that there's ever necessarily that specific word being used, efficiency, but there's always coaching towards, hey, how can we get you to the free throw line where you shoot nearly 90%? Right. There's that conversation of, hey, what's the kind of shot that's in rhythm for you, and how do we get you that type of shot? So Julia Martinez going down the stretch last year was asking like, hey, what do you need from us, Kyla? Like, what do you need from us to get you going? And I think just that added confidence that her teammates want to put her in those spots and have the confidence for her to take and make tough shots, because that's the type of player that she is. And that's a huge asset to a team. While you look at the overall percentage and it might not be great, how many players even have somebody that they even feel comfortable putting them in that role? And I think something that was really interesting too in that exhibition game, it almost felt like Kyla was making a statement. She was unbelievable on the defensive side in that game. She had multiple blocks, had 4 steals in the game. And that's something that, at 5'11", she can have that complete type of game. The rebounding wasn't there in that exhibition game, but that's something that she can add to the table as well. So a player that can hurt you in a lot of different ways. And, I don't think you worry about the efficiency so much with her. I think just the fact that she's in such a great system from day one this year and everybody's on the same page, those numbers are going to look much, much better this year just by the quality of shots that she's going to get throughout the offense. I mean, let's be honest, there weren't many numbers for many players that looked great for a majority of the last season until they caught fire at the end of the year.
We talked to you. Well, you talked about Julia Martinez in there, and I'm curious if she has added anything to her game or has just steadily gotten better. And what are you seeing from her?
Yeah, she dealt with a little injury in the offseason, but the one question for her is, boy, you hope she doesn't lose that first step, that explosiveness that she has, that ability to get to the rim and that ability to make a cut and create a steal that you didn't think was possible. It was all there and then some. I mean, she looked outstanding from an athletic standpoint and as pesky as ever, creating chances all over the place. And that energy is just infectious for this team that she plays with. She kind of sets a standard just from a work ethic perspective on the court of what everyone can expect to meet that level. And I think Ken Calhoun as well, Kennedy Calhoun, also plays a huge role in setting that bar. It was really early in the exhibition game. Coach Tillett was yelling out at Kennedy Calhoun, hey, turn the heat up. One of the things that she talks about is playing at 212 degrees, which is the point at which water boils. And, Julia Martinez and Ken Calhoun are a huge part of that. She looked outstanding. She made a lot of free throws in that one. Of course, she struggled a little bit at the beginning of the year at the free throw stripe and continued to get better and better and better as the year went along. She almost had a triple-double in that one. So I think you can expect the same old Julia Martinez, if not a little bit better.
Think there's any chance we see a quadruple double from her this season?
I won't put anything out of the question with
Quad
Julia
nickel
Martinez.
for sure.
I mean, you can see the steals number. I mean, we've seen that up near double digits. We've seen her do an incredible job, of course, with your standard triple double. And maybe not the blocks that we had last year, the chances for it with Brooke Flowers picking up her triple double with blocks last season. But really, really exciting the way that she can stuff the stat sheet.
I'm not sure we really I don't know how much we did talk to you going into the NCAA tournament. But I'm curious what if this Billiken women's team is going to repeat or what is it? I always hate when they say like defending champions. It's reigning champions. But if they are to repeat as A10 women's basketball championships, what is this team gonna have to look like, and when are they at their best?
They're gonna have to do all the little things, all the grind you out things to win a basketball game. They were out rebounded in that Missouri State exhibition or Missouri S&T exhibition game, by 8 actually, but they were plus 21 in turnovers. Turnovers were such an issue for this team, trying to get that offensive style implemented, trying to, first year head coach, get everything in order. And by the time they did, I mean, that was really what it was all about for this team, was outdoing opponents on the offensive glass and winning the turnover battle and really frustrating opponents. I mean, there were not many teams that could handle the guard play that UMass possessed, that could handle the guard play that Rhode Island possessed. And players like Kennedy Calhoun and Julia Martinez were able to make, Lassiter's feel uncomfortable. Grad transfer, great experience, over 100 games started in their career, made players look like they were freshmen out there at times, with what they were able to do defensively. So I think really just owning that style of toughness, and that we are going to do every little thing better than our opponent, because I think this is a team that there are going to be nights where they get outshot from the 3-point line. There are going to be nights where, maybe an opponent does one or two things better, but this Billikens team has the ability to win all those hustle stats consistently, night in and night out. And I think that's what they can hang their hat on, and what it's going to take to repeat as A10 champs.
They played a gauntlet of a non-conference schedule last year, and the records showed that, right? First year coach, a lot of new players, and it was a struggle. This season, they start with 3 pretty tough games in Drake, Mizzou, and Missouri State. And I really haven't had a chance to kind of look into what those teams look like this season yet. But have you had a chance to kind of look ahead at the schedule and see what's in store for them? 2 weeks from now, obviously they're going to be in the North Shore of Hawaii.
Yeah, they're playing Chaminade, Pete. Did you see that?
I know, not mine.
Not your Chaminade.
Right. There's no way.
Yeah, don't get excited. Settle down.
But then they'll play Wake Forest and BYU out there as well. But how do you keep them focused, I guess, on these first 3 really challenging games when they're 13 days away, less than that from landing in Oahu?
Well, I don't think there will be any problem with focus. I mean, this is a group of just basketball junkies on this team. Like, they're the type of players that, they're wanting to look at the film before the team ever breaks anything down with anyone. I mean, they love it. And I think just the fact that basketball is back and they have a chance to prove how special they can be. I think, there's a feeling around this team of, Coach Tillett talks all the time about excellence and everything. And this team just really embodies that in a huge way. And it's down to every little detail of how they carry themselves. And a big part of that is being able to stay present and focused in whatever given moment. And I think, we talked about it, I think, going into the tournament, how many teams would have folded when a UMass hits a 3 at the buzzer to tie the game, when you thought you had it won. Against all odds, you're able to beat this UMass team that no one thought you were going to take down twice, and to do it again in a championship. And now you got to go into overtime. Oh no. There was no panic from this team. And I think it's that presence and in the moment ability that they have to keep it just right in front of them that is going to serve them well early on against a tough stretch of teams. And I think they'll be ready to meet the task that these teams meet. And, they were on the road so much to begin last season. They get all 3 of those games at Chaifetz Arena before they head out to Hawaii. I think that's going to make a big difference as well.
You heading to Hawaii?
Yes, on the trip. Yeah. So that's
do you know where they're streaming those games? Because I can't find anything.
I do not know what the deal is, but you'll always have slewbillikens.com to try to sync that audio up with
I will be doing
the
that.
video ends up being found here.
I will do that. Dude, I mean, they've got these 2 big games, Drake, Missouri. What do you know? Like, have you done your scouting? What do you got for us?
So I've dived into Drake a little bit. I mean, just obviously a really historically successful team. I couldn't really give you like points of what I think they need to do specifically in that game against that team. And it's hard to, just predicting what rotations are going to be coming into any given season. But, it's again, going to be a great test for this team. And I think, too, to go up against those top Missouri Valley Conference teams, even though they came away with a bunch of losses due to that schedule last year, it really helped them come the season's end, being put in those tough positions. It's not as if, they were facing competition as if they felt, wow, this is something we haven't faced yet this season. I'm sure they felt the exact opposite, that they had been over prepared. And then all of a sudden it was like taking the donut off the bat, if you will.
Yeah. Drake is coming off a 22-10 record, 14-6 in conference. They made the NCAA tournament, winning the final in the MVC tournament by 18, and they lost to the 5 seed Louisville by 2. This could be tough.
That's a test. That's a test for you right there. And how about, 2 NCAA tournament teams meeting to start the year out of mid-majors? I mean, that's just exciting in general, I think, for women's basketball. And, obviously everything that's happened at Iowa to bring more notoriety to the sport, it's just great to see women's basketball grow in general. And I know Julia Martinez has signed a new big deal with a company that you guys are near and dear to. So I'm sure you guys are excited about her getting that opportunity.
In fact, I just mentioned it on the ad read for the intro. How about that?
I love it.
Dude, I mean, this women's basketball team, just make your pitch for this women's basketball team. I mean, nobody follows it closer than you do.
I think, if you want to be inspired by something, come watch this team play. And I think, it's a little bit easier for me to say that because I'm around Coach Tillett and all these amazing things she says all the time. I think I want to make it a point this season. I'm gonna write down, and I already do in my notes. I write down these little quotes.
Yeah, that sounds like a book.
These things that she says, and I need to share more of it with the audience because it truly is just inspiring the way that she is constantly working to find different coaches, to find different. It doesn't even have to do with basketball. Sometimes different areas to find ways to inspire her own players, and it rubs off on everyone. There's such a positive mindset, such a togetherness about this team. And I think, if you're maybe a little frustrated with the way that men's basketball is trending and maybe things work out for that team, in the end, this is a great team to hitch your wagon to and be positive with, because I think they're not only going to provide quite a bit of W's and good vibes for you throughout the season, but the personalities on this team are ones that you can get behind. I mean, every last woman on this team is somebody that you say, wow, like I wish that could be a coach for my daughter, or wow, I wish I could, work in a workplace with someone like that. Every last one of them. And again, like I talked about with the culture, come the season's end, that being the team's greatest weapon, I think you're only going to see that become an exponential thing in their favor as Rebecca Tillett continues to instill what she expects from this group. I mean, it's an exciting time to be a SLU women's basketball fan.
Well, have fun in Hawaii, and we want to see a deep winter tan on you all season long.
I don't know if I can promise you that, but if you catch me maybe early March after the first few SLU baseball games, then I might have a little tan going for you after being out in the bleachers.
We got to get you in a press box for that. I'm just saying.
Hey, I'm out here to soak up the sun and the wind.
Don't tell them that.
And whatever else
don't
might
tell
be
them
there.
that.
All
Don't
right.
tell them that. Don't let it be all right. No, thank you, Colin, for taking the time out and giving our listeners a preview of SLU women's basketball.
No, I appreciate you guys as always. You do tremendous work. Always great to talk to you both, Peter and Zach, and hoping to do it again soon here. And I think there's going to be a lot of excitement, and we're going to have some great conversations throughout the year.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Colin.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Colin, for joining the show and giving us a great preview and outlook for the women's basketball team. They take on Drake Thursday the 9th, and Sunday they take on Missouri. That's the 12th. Both of these games are at Chaffetz. As we mentioned, both against very good opponents. Pete, women's basketball. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be great, Zach. And I go see them play live. Better yet, get season tickets. Like they just put up their promo schedule for the season, and it just shows you like how hard they're working to get their potential world of fans engaged. Community night, education day. That's always a wild one.
Oh, that is. Bring your earplugs for that one.
Yeah, they've got a cheer and dance clinic day. They've got Girl Scout night, a camper reunion from their summer campers, and something they're calling Billiken Eras Tour.
My favorite.
You might watch that one from home, but
yeah,
anyway,
that's an ESPN Plus game.
They're already like so fun to watch. Colin told you like what great personalities they've got, and they're just trying to create an atmosphere of fun around the team too. So truly go support this team. They were so fun to watch last year, and they're going to be good again.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always great. The women's basketball team is always out watching other games. I mean, I'm sure it's something that is instilled in the players in all programs, right? But it just feels like the women's soccer or the women's basketball team, along with women's or baseball, are just always out. They're always out watching the game. So it was great to see them, obviously, at the women's soccer match, the final today. Saw Julia Martinez with a little ice on the knee. Got to ice up the knee. Get ready for that game on Thursday. Let's talk about that game today, but first we got to build up to that with the rankings. RPI, the Billiken women come in.
We're talking about women's soccer.
We are talking about women's soccer. Billiken women's soccer comes in at 15. They were 13 last week. They're 21st in the coaches poll, up one spot. No change in the top drawer soccer. They stay at 11. And then no change in the college soccer news. They're still 15 there. Pete, give us the A10 all-conference honors and do it in one breath.
Emily Percelli, goalkeeper of the year. Lindsay Heckel, defensive player of the year. Emily Gaby, offensive player of the year. All three of them, plus Abby Miller and Caroline Kelly, made the all-conference first team. The second team had Sophia Stram, Katie Hauk, Hannah Larson. Rookie team had Alyssa Bacchius, and all-academic team were Hauk and Larson, Zach.
Nice job. I was literally seeing if you'd pass out. And you passed the test. Billikens win 5-0 in the A10 semifinals on Wednesday. The first 21st minute, Emily Groark initially got credit for this Duquesne own goal, but the box score was updated to credit the SLU team. She put in a cross that bounced off a Duke's defender and broke the plane before the goalie could get it out. Peter, I feel like SLU team, it always reminds me of like rebounding. You get a team rebound.
Right, team rebound. This one, Zach, like it had me. I think we've talked about this in the past, right? Because it seems like in college soccer, they never want to call it an own goal. Like they always want to give,
like they say, sudden victory. That shit drives me nuts.
And it's not necessarily like a pet peeve. I just wondered if it was like a rules thing, like it has to be the last offensive player who touched it or something like that. I didn't really know. So when I saw that again, I was like, well, this would have been an own goal in any professional league. But a few hours later, it was weird. Like the initial box score had her name, and then a few hours later, it went to a team goal. I guess they don't technically call it an own goal, but nonetheless, that's what it was. But she made it happen.
38th minute, an Olympico by Hannah Sawyer with her corner kick, curling it in around the near post, off the keeper's hands, and in the back of the net. It looked like a header in the crowd. Even on the replay, but it only hit the goalie and still would have gone in had no one touched it. Hannah Sawyer just, I'm going to get to Hannah Sawyer on this 75th minute play. But before that, 39th minute, Julia Simon sent in a low, long skipping ball that got through everybody and into the back of the net. 47th minute, Caroline Kelly with a header off an Izzy Lubert cross. Sophia Stram was also credited with an assist. 75th minute, it was Sawyer again, this time from an assist by Jess Pricer. Used her speed and a really nice cutback to get it to her left foot and finish strong.
Yeah, she's a fun player, Zach. I mean, like she doesn't really pass, does she? Like once I started noticing, I was like, if she gets it, she's just gonna take it. I've been watching for that a lot, and she really just she doesn't pass a lot. Her speed's incredible. Her shooting ability is lethal. And this comment isn't necessarily relevant to this particular play, right? Like she did the right thing.
No, no, absolutely not. She's so goddamn entertaining.
She
like
is,
whether
like,
she's on the field or off the field, I
yes.
want her to just be like the biggest antagonist. And like, I don't want her to be a nice person. Like, I want her to be kind of a shithead. Like that like in the game, she's just so like annoying in the greatest way when she's on your team. She's on the sideline, like working the refs. She's working the linesman as he's up and down. Like it's hilarious. I can't get enough of watching her play. And Ian on the sideline just brings a little extra entertainment value.
She's on the shorter side on the roster.
Yes.
She can fly. I think she might be. I know they talk about Larson and the beep test, but like Sawyer is really, really fast.
Those legs move so damn fast.
She's really fast. Like she has smoked people all season long. And then like she will let it go from anywhere. And so like you can't take your eyes off this player when she's got the ball because you're just like, what's she gonna do next? She's really entertaining to watch. And you're right. It is funny to think of her as like maybe a bit of a heel, in wrestling, like somebody who you're just naturally drawn to, but they're just so competitive.
Yes.
And you have to imagine like not the favorite of the opposing players either. So yeah, I don't know. She's really become an intriguing player to me over the course of this season for sure.
I kind of see Emily Gaby being like the physical heel, where she's a heel and that she just Heisman's every defender and just is that like assaulting everyone offensively. But then like Hannah Sawyer's more of like that loudmouth heel. Like she's she's just like gonna just piss you off with everything she says. But she's probably the sweetest person on earth. I'm sure she's just like an incredible human being.
You just want to believe.
I want to believe. I don't. It's still real to me. Damn it.
We've constructed this character, and she has to be.
She has to be a horrible person. I want her to be a horrible person. No,
and she's almost certainly not.
No, I'm sure she's not. No, keep doing you, Hannah Sawyer. We are entertained every day.
It's like it's just a competitive thing, right? Yeah. Like I
identify with that. She's small, she's fiery, like she has like I yell at the ref, she yells at the ref. She's just like us. She puts her pants on one leg at a time like us. It's great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, she's great to watch though. Keep entertaining us for sure.
Yes. The shots were 27-7 Billikens, 10-6 shots on goal for the Billikens. Corners were 12-1, fouls were 12-11, 2 yellows for each team. Macy Lutz got one for SLU, and Sawyer had one late in the game. And I think somebody wasn't happy about that. I mean, just that she got it late. I think Betlock mentioned it on the broadcast, or McDermott did.
It was maybe not the smartest tackle. It was a little bit from behind.
Yes,
it was. Yeah, she earned it. It was. I was certainly
just not happy with her getting
with
that
her play.
Card.
Right? Yeah, it wasn't a super smart play.
Percelli tied the all-time shutouts record of 38, held by Megan Burke. She also moved into second place in career saves, 249. SLU's assists gave them 61 on the season, tying the record they set last year. Pete, let's talk about this A10 championship game.
Yeah, Zach, this one was, I don't know what to say about this game. This was like, well, first of all, they won 3-0. This was their 6th consecutive conference title. The A10 championship game at Herman Stadium on Sunday the 5th. Everything you would want to be able to say about this game at the end is right there, right? But it wasn't always the easiest game to watch, necessarily, especially in the second half.
It was very boring in the second half.
I don't know if boring is the right word, just maybe a little. I'll get to
stupid.
it later.
It just felt stupid. Like, it was like, what are we doing? Like, why? Why is this happening?
Right. So on the other side of the bracket, LaSalle beats Dayton 1-0 in extra time to get in the semifinals. To get here, SLU actually beat LaSalle 4-0 and earlier in the regular season. I had forgotten they played. I think everything that happened before that tie against Dayton was just kind of wiped from my memory. And that was like, and then the season restarted from there. I don't, for whatever reason, I don't know why. I can't remember a conference game before then. But anyway, we did see them. And the first half, Zach, played out. It was definitely physical. It was definitely a lot of chirping at the ref. Bit of a ref show in this game for sure. But he could have probably had a little bit better control of it from the start. Nonetheless, SLU pretty much controlled the first half. 14th minute, Caroline Kelly scored on a rebound from Emily Gaby. Gaby's shot actually was tipped off the goal. The goalie tipped it off the post, and Caroline Kelly was there for the rebound. The play actually originated on a throw-in, which, as Bill McDermott reminded us, man, coaches hate to give up goals off throw-ins. So yeah, two most lethal goal scorers getting it done there. 28th minute, Gaby from Kelly and Anna Lawler this time. Her shot hit the underside of the crossbar. It was a lethal shot, bounced in all the way back up into the top netting. So Lawler got the ball in this one, Zach. I don't know if you felt the same way, but she had a little space and a lot of options. And I was like starting to be like, give it up, like let go of the ball. Like she seemed like she was really taking her time and holding on to it, but I guess she was just being patient. She found Kelly, who got it back to Gaby, who had to beat about 1.5 defenders to get that shot. And once she uncorked it, it was quite a stonker.
It was it was a rocket. I was afraid that it went bar down and out, but
Yeah.
it did hit the top of the net. It was a no doubter once it did.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had the same initial feeling. Like when it hit the bar, I was like, oh God, don't, but yeah, she had just, I guess, the right placement, the right spin on it. It went in and not out. 57th minute, it was Kelly again, this time after Larson got in deep, had her pass deflect off a LaSalle defender back in the direction of the goal, and Kelly was there to kind of put it away. Not exactly like pretty stuff there, but just a workman-like goal with Larson, as she did all day in this game, doing the majority of the work. And then in the 84th minute, SLU thought they had a fourth with a chaotic scrum in front of the net off a corner, but it was called a SLU handball. LaSalle got a goal kick instead. Less than 3 minutes later, Gaby missed by about a foot, and it would end with that score 3-0, Zach.
Yeah, I thought there was the third goal. LaSalle was really, I mean, I was shocked that they had as big of a reaction to that. Yeah. Because it did, I believe, came off a LaSalle defender and then right back to Kelly, who was offside. I mean, I don't think it even deflected. I think the LaSalle player, I think the issue was the LaSalle player made a kicking motion.
Right.
Because if it would have been a deflection, I don't know. The LaSalle were not, there was one really nice moment where a little kid brought the ball to one of the players on an out of bounds, and the high five. It was very nice. But I thought LaSalle was just kind of whining the entire time
from the start.
They came in ready to be victims.
Yes, for sure. Like they clearly had a game plan that was like, let's be as physical as possible. I mean, they were very, very physical in this game. And SLU's normally the more physical team too, right? Like they're pretty aggressive about their tackling, about going to 50-50 balls. Everything they do, they really press teams. LaSalle was clearly ready to put up a fight though. I mean, like they were as physical as anybody we've played all season. But they were also like, yeah, you're right. Like they were ready to be victims, and their coach too. I mean, he got a yellow. I think it was the 22nd minute, and he could have gotten it several minutes earlier. Like he was all over the ref.
He was asking for it, literally.
Every foul, every out of bound, like everything. They had
and he
at
was
least
wrong.
one, if not 2 or 3 players swarming the refs and complaining.
And he was wrong every time.
Yeah, most of the time I was like, what are you even complaining about?
Yeah.
Like this one, I did call it a ref show a little bit earlier. It wasn't necessarily that he was making like horrible calls from the start. he just kind of like didn't set a tone of like, I don't know, getting it under control. I don't know if
I didn't. I thought he had a really bad understanding of advantage in this one.
yes, that's fair. That's true. He absolutely did.
Like it was like, I mean, both ways. I thought there were
Yeah.
multiple times when he called stuff back. I was like, what are you doing?
But for the most part, his foul calls were like, you know, they were fouls, right? Like he wasn't like, I don't know. I just it was just the whole tone of this game. I think like the way I put it in the notes here is like I just did not like the energy. You know, like the coach was all over the refs. Their players were screaming about every call. And yet they're like knocking the crap out of SLU players. Hannah Larson in this game was just like she was taken down every time she had the ball, which was a lot. I mean, she was doing a ton of work. And how many times did they throw her into the grass, push her, you know, trip her into the like? So she spent a lot of the game on the ground, and like she was fouled hard sometimes, like really, really hard. I couldn't believe the beating she took today. And then LaSalle would like turn and complain, and it was like, what are you talking about? You're destroying people out there.
Pete, run us down the stats in this one. It was a lot. I think it was closer than the score indicated, because I thought LaSalle had a couple opportunities. There were times in this match where I thought, you know, like you said, it was sloppy, unfocused, and in the second half, it just felt like the Billiken. It's like one of those things where if you're running and you stop running, it's harder to get your legs moving again than it is to keep running. Where I felt like the team was just so they put it into cruise control.
Yeah.
And then they tapped the brake, and then they forgot they had to put their foot back on the gas to make the car go again.
Yeah, I don't know if and I don't know how much like the physicality from LaSalle got to them or some of the other factors or what. It was just it was a weird one, right? Like they outshot LaSalle 21-14, but LaSalle outshot them in the second half. You know, it was the first half really that caused the disparity in these stats. Second half, it was either really close or LaSalle had the advantage. They outshot SLU 13-11 in the second half, which means they only had one shot in the first half. And honestly, it wasn't really a shot. Shots on goal were 11-6. SLU had 8 corners to LaSalle's 3, and SLU had 20 fouls to LaSalle's 18. Yellows, LaSalle had 6, SLU had 1. It could have been at least 8-2 in that department, though. There were a couple that LaSalle may have gotten away with, and I think SLU was it Gaby in the first half.
No, that was clean.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. That was clean.
Was it?
Yes. It was
All
gorgeous.
Right,
it was absolutely awesome.
You were there. I'll take your word for it.
No, I felt like almost. I mean, you could see maybe why this team, and I'm not saying they're in the right or if this is actually what they thought, but you could see how a team that's been to the NCAA tournament now 6 straight years, and is up 3-0 in the final is, you know, daydreaming about getting another chance, another crack at it where they failed last year. You could see that. I mean, I would understand it. I'd be the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's understandable for sure. I mean, I don't know. It's also worth reminding people like LaSalle was the number 2 team in the conference, right? Yeah. Like this wasn't the same level of opponent that SLU had been beating, you know, in the weeks leading up to this game for the most part. I thought they were better. They clearly had a plan. It wasn't always the cleanest affair to watch, though.
Hit us with some season and career stats and a couple of just insane numbers here, Pete.
Yeah, now there are so many more, but we, you know, once we are wrapping up the season, we'll be able to put more of it in perspective because a lot of these are just going to change every week. But just a few of them. First off, Kelly was named the most outstanding player of the tournament. No surprise there. SLU's shutout streak is now at 10. And without having conceded a goal in the last 920 minutes and 31 seconds of play. That was that 1-1 tie against Dayton. That's the last goal they allowed. That was the only goal they allowed in all of A10 play, including the A10 tournament. Incredible. SLU now has new season records for goals, 67, and assists, 65. Percelli broke Megan Burke's shutout record in this game and now has 39 for her career. Abby Miller played in her 105th game as a Billiken, tying Hannah Friedrich's record. Frederick or Friedrich? I went back and forth on that her whole career.
Hannah Frederick.
Yeah, it's Frederick, right?
What when in doubt, say it simple. That's what
Right.
I go with.
It's Frederick. It's one of those things like once you say a name wrong once, it's like in your head forever.
Yeah, it's like crayon. Crayon.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna say that.
Meaning. Yeah.
Gaby's school record for goals in a season now stands at 15. So hopefully she can add several more to that at least. The NCAA tournament selection show is scheduled for Monday the 6th at 3 p.m., mere hours after we release this episode, of course, but we are very much looking forward to seeing what happens here. Zach, any predictions? I mean, I would have to think this team gets at least one home game.
We get a home game, but we're screwed and we have to play like Duke.
They are going to give it. Yeah, that's right. They're going to give us.
I think they make up for it this year.
An RPI 39 team, or something like that. It's going to be ridiculous.
Well, that was the positive portion of our show. Stay tuned for negative madness. Now, Pete, let's talk about men's soccer. Yeah, not good.
No, not great, Zach. Yeah, this is the bitter to the sweet. Their RPI is officially at 31. They haven't updated it on the NCAA website since October 29th. I thought they would today. Unofficially, from what I could find, SLU appears to be down to 36th as of today, which is Sunday the 5th. And the reason for that, Zach, is this gut-wrenching result against UMass in the A10 tournament.
Yeah, 2-2 draw with UMass Friday the 3rd, with UMass advancing 4-3 on PKs. Scoreless first half. Alec Hughes of UMass made it 1-0 with his 15th goal of the season, assisted by Shane Velez. 56 minutes, Billiken, Mad Sister Peterson tied it up at 1 on a really nice cross from Carlos Leatherman. 66 minute, MSP, this time assisted by Seth Anderson and Carlos Buendia. Anderson did a lot of the heavy lifting here to get through the defense, while MSP made a big run to be open on the far side. Pete, it felt like they were okay. All right, this is it. We got it.
They buckled down. They got serious. All right, we're at home. Let's put this away and move on.
Yeah, but UMass tied it up in the 75th minute on a goal by Nick Zalanka. And they beat us in a shootout. Yeah, 4-3.
They did. I mean, I don't even know what to say about the shootout. It was, look, it was a shootout. We missed 2, right? I mean, like it's frustrating. It's just frustrating.
Just fired in the goal. Like, I don't know. Right. I don't know. Shots were 14-6 Billikens. Shots on goal 7-4 Billikens. 13-0 on corners for the Billikens, and the fouls were 27-16 UMass. When you have 13 corners against to 0 and you give up 2 goals and you don't score more than 2, I don't know what to do.
No, it's just frustrating. Look, UMass had a strategy and it worked. They were going to go over the top. They were going to go to Hughes. He's dangerous. Like you can see it from his first run. I was like, oh, that guy's going to be a problem. Like all night, right? He's going to be a problem. They're going to swing for the fences every time, and they don't need to hit a home run every time. They only need to do it 2 or 3 times, right? And 2 was enough in this game. He only got 1 of them, but that's how they were generating anything offensively. That's just how it was going to go. That guy could really fly, and he's one of the leading scorers in the A10, and I think in the country he's probably top 20 or so. So, they went through him, and it was a pretty good strategy overall. It paid off because the stats show that SLU was the better team, on paper in this thing. But you're right, 13-0 in corners, and you wind up with a 2-2 tie in regulation. I don't know how that happens.
Pete, run us down the other A10 results and tell us what we know about when the Billikens will learn their fate.
Yeah, so number 1 seed VCU beat number 8 seed Fordham 1-0. 4 seed Davidson had 2 to Duquesne's 5 seed I'm saying this all wrong. 4 seed Davidson 2, 5 seed Duquesne 1. Loyola was the 3 seed. They tied Dayton, who was the 6 seed, but Dayton advances on PKs 5-4. So heartbreak for the 3 seed as well, which messes up our side of the bracket. SLU will ultimately learn their fate on Monday, November 13th during the NCAA tournament selection show. So a week behind the women, they will find out. And I don't know what to say here. I mean, 36, if that's going to be about where they land in the RPI, what do you think that does?
I have no idea. They could host, they could be completely out. It is. I really don't know what they're gonna do with this team. But the slide they've been on, going towards the end of the season, has just been aggressively back to the or where they were early in the season. And I think there's something needs to be said about the scheduling in the A10. I mean, there's no reason Dayton is a 6 seed in that tournament. Davidson shouldn't be anywhere near a 4.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really know. Moving on to volleyball, another tough weekend. I know Beatty was really looking to get out and assert themselves at Davidson this weekend, and the team just didn't do it. Or any of them didn't really come through with the result, coaches or players. Not to throw anyone under the bus. 3-2 loss at Davidson on Friday, November 3rd, Pete.
This was a tough one, Zach. They got out to a tough situation, a tough spot in the first 2, and then clawed back in the second 2 and had a lead in the 5th.
They had several leads.
Yeah, they did. So it was 18-25, 21-25, and then 25-23, 26-24. Really gutted out those 2. And then 16-18 in that 5th set. SLU led 12-7 at one point in that final one. Davidson survived 3 match points. And most stats in this overall match were a dead heat or pretty close. Delaney Rice had 18 kills. 3 different players had 5 blocks each. Jillian Mattingly, Cece Fitz, and Addie Lyon. Lyon also had 42 assists, and Carly Rogers had 24 digs. That was one where, at first I was like, okay, this is not their night. And then it was like, oh, they're definitely going to win, right? Like it was quite a roller coaster here.
Yeah, I think, speaking on a macro level, these 2 matches, it highlights when you watch a volleyball team, this team, it doesn't have the ability to go on runs. And I think it comes a lot from their defense, because when you're on defense, you're serving, you are taking the attack first. You're taking the first attack. You're absorbing the first attack. And I think the block just is not there. It doesn't get there quick enough. It gets to the wrong spot. And then, digs and that I just, there's so many times you watch this team just get beat over and over again on tip balls. And I just think the defense isn't there, and it's going to need to improve big time. Looking ahead to next season, obviously there's a couple games left, but I think right now they're on the outside looking into that A10 tournament. Pete, walk us through a 3-0 loss on Sunday. Well, run us down the stats first, and then give us that 3-0 loss at Davidson.
The stats on the 3-2 one.
Yeah.
We already.
Oh god, I got into my bag. Sorry,
that's good.
I was on a roll. All right, go ahead with the Davidson.
So in this 3-0 loss, they lost the first set 30-32, then 18-25, 18-25. They held a 19-14 lead in the first set, but Davidson went on a 7-0 run, and it was basically neck and neck after that. Ultimately, with the Wildcats getting the best of them. Then they ran away with the final 2 sets. Davidson did. Mattingly had 11 kills. Opperly had 23 assists. Rogers 22 digs. But Zach, they could have put themselves in a really strong spot for a seed in this tournament, and now it's going to be a 3-team race with 2 teams getting in. So it's going to be pretty tricky here. SLU, do you want to run down the standings? You want me to? How do you want to do this?
Dayton's at the top, 16-0, 14-2 Loyola Chicago, 13-3 VCU, 9-7 Davidson, 7-9 Fordham, 6-10 St. Louis and Duquesne, 4-12 Mason and George Washington, 1-15 Rhode Island. Yeah, they're in a tough spot.
They are. They've got George Washington at home, luckily one of the weaker teams in the league, on Friday and Saturday, the 10th and 11th. And then Fordham, who's 1 game ahead, plays 2 against George Mason, who's also pretty weak. And then Duquesne hosts Davidson. So they're at home, but against a little bit stronger team. So if everybody wins out here, I think SLU could be the odd team out. Duquesne has the tiebreaker over SLU. They won 3-2, 3-2 on October 6th and 7th. And then SLU has the tiebreaker over Fordham because they won by the same scores on October 13th and 14th, or same scores, like, you know what I mean? They won 3-2, 3-2. So that's a really interesting breakdown, right? I mean, like, it looks like if I had to pick anyone's situation heading into this weekend, we're probably in the toughest spot just because of that tiebreaker. I mean, Duquesne has to beat Davidson twice. That's probably
no. I mean, I think SLU's in a better spot for that 6th seed.
That's true. But if everybody goes 2-0, we're in trouble. We need Duquesne to drop.
Yeah, I have no doubts in my mind. Right. I think we just need to take care of business.
Yeah.
I have no doubt in my mind that Duquesne will drop 1 or 2 to Davidson. Davidson's this volleyball, this conference is very good this year. Like it's going to sound like me making excuses because for the last 4 years, you've heard me talk about how bad this conference is, but adding Loyola Chicago has completely changed. I mean, it is the fact that Loyola Chicago was added is the reason Kent Miller isn't here anymore.
That's probably true.
I mean,
it was really Dayton and VCU before, right? And then, like, Dayton's better than they've ever literally ever been. They're 27-2.
I don't think they're not better than they've ever been. They've been
this good.
Yes.
27-2, undefeated in conference. They've won, I think, 24 in a row now or something like that.
Hold on. I know this is ridiculous to prove this point to you because they're
about as good as they've ever been. So, like,
yes, 100%.
This is not a bad SLU team, and for them to be a slightly below the middle of the, they're technically a bottom half team in this league, and that's crazy to me. Like, you're right. It's a way better league than it was before. Davidson's better. VCU is just as good as they always are. So you're right. It is better. I would want to say top to bottom, but Rhode Island's terrible.
2009, they went 30-4, 14-1 in conference, with the only loss coming to Xavier, and it was a 3-2 loss.
Wow.
Yeah, they didn't dominate the way they are this season, but and then 2010, I want to say they were 28-4 in 2010. That was the year they beat us in the final that I was on the staff. They were they were 21-13 in 08, but I mean that was SLU's best year. We dominated them in all 3 matches. Beat them 3-0, 3-1, 3-0. Yeah. That's how good we were.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cross country was off this week. I don't know who they're sending to the Midwest regionals. I'm sure we'll get, if anybody. I'm not sure, but that'll be Friday, November 10th in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Pete, swimming and diving. They were busy.
They were. They had a double dual meet at Little Rock on Saturday the 4th. Henderson State was also there. The women beat Henderson State 220-45, but lost to Little Rock 163-50 to 111-50. Megan Eng was a multiple winner for the women. She got first place in the 100-meter back and 200-meter. Emily Leonard won the 1,000 freestyle, and then Kenna Cashman tied for first in the 100 breaststroke. The men beat Henderson State 174-103. Little Rock doesn't actually have a men's team, probably on account of they have a football team. Franklin Liu won the 500 free and the 1,000-meter free. Jedrick Camilla touched first in the 100-meter breaststroke and 200-meter. And then Ben Mears captured the 1-meter and 3-meter diving competitions. Also winning were Zach Byers in the 200-meter backstroke, Alex Daw in the 100 individual medley, and the 800 free relay team of Ryan Bates, Lenny DiMartino, Ben Malidi, and Logan Townsend also finished first. Next up, they've got the Phoenix Fall Classic at the University of Chicago on the 17th through the 19th.
Is that the University of Phoenix Fall Classic?
It is not. No, the University of Phoenix and the University of Chicago are very different institutions.
Oh, okay. Just checking. Well, I think that does it. I mean, outstanding from SLU women's soccer. Six time.
They're a dynasty, Zach.
I mean, is there a word? Is there a better word? By the way, I'm calling out Chris Allen. We've heard enough from Katie Shields. We want to hear from the set piece guru, because I got some ideas. I'm bringing the secret weapon for the first round NCAA tournament game. I got some ideas.
You've got the mentality of like the mid 90s Disney sports movie, gimmick,
yes,
gimmick play.
We're running the annexation of Puerto Rico.
We're going to do a gimmick play from a 1995 heartwarming.
No, here's the play. You come up with a play, call it the annexation of Puerto Rico, and you yell it to everybody. You make sure everybody knows about it. And then it's just a simple, just cross the ball. That's the plan.
Just as straightforward as possible.
It's a World War II level deception.
So if teams really want to scout SLU, they should be listening to the end of this show, Zach. Because
absolutely,
that's gold.
I'm getting that listener length, that stay rate. No, that's it. That we're done. Thank you everybody for listening. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Peter is a tweeter, at Zach Miller MMP, at Midtown Mad Pod. That's on Instagram and Twitter. Again, thank you guys for listening, and go Bills.
Go Bills.